Well, Motorola's valuable patents may be a significant part of Google's deal, but as my next guest points out, Google may also get a big boost from Motorola's home networking devices that could better position the company to bring Google TV into consumers' homes. Max Wolff is a senior analyst at Greencrest Capital Management, where he covers social media and the Web 2.0 space. Welcome, Max. Thanks for joining us here on Fast Forward. I got to ask you, $12.5 billion deal for Google, their biggest ever, 63% premium to where Motorola Mobility closed on Friday. It's got to be more than the patents, right? And that's your point. What else does this get them aside from hardware?
Sure. Well, I think this deal positions us to have better information on a whole bunch of spaces. So one is people are still chasing growth, and growth is valuable, and Google doesn't want to be outbid again. Not for patents, not for growth, not for the next wave. So Google's been struggling a little bit in the big picture with not being seen as the next big thing. They don't want that problem again. They have pretty well endowed position for cash right now. They want to do it to make a splash. This makes a splash. It allows them to enter the Apple space, and having a soup to nuts control of the handset and the operating system pushes back against their shortfall in the patents, which we saw as against their unsuccessful Nortel bill, and announced that they're going to be pushing into the future with tablets and with multi-device platform access to consumers, because we kind of all know that the future of the web is a multi-device access from an individual, and this gives them search advertising on your cell phone, on your smartphone, on your tablet, and through your television, where the Motorola set-top box is all over the country already, and it allows a nice universe to challenge Apple right out of the gate and hope to chase the kind of profit margins we're used to seeing out of Apple and seeing everybody else in the space envy.
So how do you value a company now like Google? I mean, some people, I was talking to an analyst this morning saying that it's still being valued like it's an old media company. So it's part new media, it's part hardware. I mean, how do you actually look at this company and say this is the right price at this point?
I think the pessimists look at Google and they say this is 85% of the past of what's hot in the internet and a small piece of what's hot in the future. We look at Google and we see it as hot in the past, hot in the present, and very well positioned for the future. So you're really looking at growth here as well as the very strong earnings and its position that's defended in the space. We do know the space is radically changing. We know that some of the biggest, most exciting companies are in the private space, and we know patents are important. And what Google is doing is positioning itself for any of the three paths that we may see this market and this space take over the next 6, 12, 24 months. And we think that that makes sense. Not that they got the deal of the century here and they put out a lot of money and they put out a lot of cash, but they have the cash and they can't afford to lose again.
Where do you think the stock should be trading right now? So far, investors not particularly, not a lot of conviction out there in the trading, but the stock is down about 2% on the day.
Yeah, well, Google's going to get beat up until people decide that they got a good deal on it. The long picture, the existential picture, is how is this space going to migrate, and will Google be catching up and also running, or helping to define the future evolution of Web 2.0, the social components, the mobile component? It looks to me like this was a very good decision, which realigns the whole space. So the wisdom of this will have to do with what Microsoft does going forward, how the HTC and Samsung group responds to this, and also what it means about the relationship between Microsoft and Nokia. But it does move all the pieces, which means they're beginning to set the tune to which all the players were dancing, instead of trying to dance to someone else's tune, which had kind of been the nature of the beast for them for the last 6 to 18 months.
All right. Well, despite what the stock price is doing, Max, I think that consensus so far from the analysts I've spoken to suggests that this was a great move on their part. Thanks so much, though, for joining us and spending some time with us here on Fast Forward. That was Max Wolff of Greencrest Capital with his perspective on this Google deal news.